Good morning. What a blessing and honor and privilege it is for me to be here with you all. Great memories. I remember my son was baptized right up there, right around 2000. And what a joy. I have three objectives today. My three objectives are to share with you a picture of the work I have had the privilege of being invested in for the last 24 years of inner-city mission and ministry here in central Arkansas. I'd like to also cast a vision. The vision I would like to cast is a vision for God's ministry of reconciliation that all of us are the beneficiaries of and all of us are called into actively participate in. And so as I am a minister of reconciliation, I'm speaking to ministers of reconciliation. I'm sharing with you a little bit of the ministry of reconciliation as it is manifested on our turf, and may us all reflect on God's ministry of reconciliation on our own turf as well. And what I'd like to do, the third thing I'd like to do is create a passion for us to be more vigorously, fully, and intentionally engaged in God's ministry of reconciliation. Here's my plan for accomplishing those three objectives today. The plan is, first of all, to move swiftly through the first half of the presentation that gives you information about what we're about, and then I'd like to get to the last part of the presentation, which is telling you a story of how all of these different aspects, these four different ministries, work together that we're going to share with you today in order to impact lives in this ministry of reconciliation through one young lady by the name of Santa Walton. So with that in tune, we will move forward. Don and I have had the privilege of working together for about 18 years. We are so thankful for the way that you have loved and supported us. Don and Deanne and Laura and I, we're very thankful for the way you have supported us in kingdom work. Don has recently, quote-unquote, retired. He and Deanne are still very active members of the River City Church family. However, here's a little bit, I thought it might be helpful for those that don't know to know some of the connection that Chenal Valley has had with us. In 1995, Greg and Amber Sublett, who worked with this church family, serving with the youth and leading singing, they launched out and plugged in with Silver City Church at the time. Now SCC is now SCM, referred to as Silver City Ministry. I'll be telling you more about them in just a little bit. Laura and I were here from 97 to 2000 serving with this church family, and in 2000 we launched out and plugged in with River City Church, where I continue to serve as an evangelist there. 2005, Don and Deanne plugged in with us, and you all have been very helpful in supporting them with some work funds like you have for me all these years, and in speaking with my compadres at River City Ministry. I don't know how long this goes back, for quite a long time. You all have consistently supported the work there, and we want to say thank you for that work. So here is the essence of the text I'd like for us to tune in today, this beautiful vision of the ministry of reconciliation. Let's look at this together. This is our work, this ministry of reconciliation that we are all beneficiaries of, and that God has called all of us in wherever our turf happens to be. I'll tell you some of my turf, you know your turf. This is our work. Since then, we know what it is to fear the Lord, revere, honor the Lord, respect the Lord. What do? We pour our hearts into persuading people that Jesus is the way. For Christ's love compels us, motivates us, because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died. And He died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for Him who died for them and was raised to life. The beauty is that we preach all the time. We die to ourselves so that we can fully live. The passage continues. So from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone. The new has come. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting men's sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors. As though God were making his appeal through us, we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. That is the vision of the ministry of reconciliation in which we are engaged. And so, tell you a little bit about us. We are a ministry network. We are a collaborative network of 4 Christ-centered ministries wherein we endeavor to glorify the Lord by being faithful and effective ministers of reconciliation, where among people who chronically struggle with poverty and dysfunction, we aim to reconcile people, get this, we aim to reconcile people, yes, primarily back to God, but also back to themselves, to others, and to this world, back to all of God's riches and resources intended for human flourishing. And so we are 4 ministries. And this, pay careful attention here, because it's very confusing. What are all these River City, Silver City? What is all that stuff? I'm going to try to tell you right now. So hopefully you'll walk out of this room with a clear vision of what all these things are. There's 4 of us. There's 4 distinct autonomous entities. One of us is a church. That's us, River City Church, where I am an evangelist with River City Church. And then there's 3 nonprofit parachurch ministries: River City Ministry, Hand Up Housing, and Silver City Ministry. We'll tell you more about all of them. All of them had their beginning seeds that were planted in the mid-'80s when a small handful of believers with the Levy Church of Christ, just without any grand strategic vision or plan, just said, you know what, I think the Bible says something about going to make disciples and preaching the gospel and serving those, the least of these. And I see these news stories about gang activity and poverty being the highest in the nation, right in our backyard. And they just started doing some things to love and serve in that context. And it is over these last 25, 30 years has blossomed into 4 of these distinct entities. What is it that drives us? It's the same thing that drives all of us. We're driven by Christ's compassion. For God so loved the world. We're driven by his call to come follow me. We're driven by his commandments to love God with the sum total of our being and to love our neighbors as ourselves. We're driven by his commission to go into all the world, and including our backyard, and make disciples of all nations, all people groups. We are driven by Christ's charge to care for the least, the lost. What's the context we serve? And I'm not going to read every single one of these. You can see these. The context in which we serve is what we call the culture of generational poverty. It is its own identifiable culture unto itself. We cross the ocean. It's just a handful of miles to get from here to where our ministry occurs, but when we cross that, we're crossing a cultural ocean, not unlike going to Papua New Guinea or New Zealand or some other place. We're crossing a cultural ocean where there's great devastation, great pain, great suffering. There's pain and suffering amongst this church family, amongst the people that we know as well, but it's so much visible, it's so vivid, and it's in our faces with chronic brokenness of so many different kinds. And in this ministry of reconciliation, what we're trying to do is reconcile, take all these broken pieces and put them back together with the riches and resources that God has provided for us, primarily connecting with God first and then connecting them, reconciling them back to all of God's resources for human flourishing. So let me tell you about these 4 ministries. First one is River City Ministry, which is different than River City Church. River City Ministry is a homeless day resource center that does all kinds of different things. There's social workers on staff there. There's a full-time evangelist there. Tons of volunteers that help out with all kinds of different services. These are among the things that River City Ministry does, serving with a medical clinic and dental clinic and a vision clinic and mental health referrals, helping people with spiritual challenges. There is a full-time evangelist that works on staff with River City Ministry to infuse all of the ministries that meet people's temporal needs and infuse them with a spiritual component. One of my joys is twice a month I go and deliver a lunch lesson there, lead a devotional time that precedes the meal that's being served there. Every day they got hot breakfast, hot lunch every day for folks who are in need. Tell you a little bit about us, River City Church. We work, by the way, all 4 of these entities we're talking about here today, River City Church, River City Ministry, Silver City Church, Hand Up Housing, we all work in harmony with each other. We're all separate entities, but we're joined at the hip, and we collaborate and connect with each other in a whole variety of ways. Let me show you a little video about River City Church. What you're going to see, that's at River City Ministry there. That's one of our members, Courtney, and we're going to see somewhat about his life. The kingdom of God is like a little bit of leaven that's put into the dough, or a little tiny mustard seed that's planted, and over time quietly becomes something that's significant.
When I turned about 19, my stepdad kicked me out, and that's when I first hung around homeless, that's they call it.
That was your first experience with
homelessness? Yes. First thing came to my mind was to always follow the crowd, and maybe I'll survive. In my mind, I was saying that
that's
there's
River City
no
Church
one
lobby
out there
right
for
there.
me. I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I had brain surgery twice, I'm slow, I'm never going to find a job. I didn't have any family members to help, so I was saying in my head to myself, there's no one here for me, and I haven't found no friends or anybody to help me now, so I might as well just give up.
I love telling the River City story. It's captured by a motto, which is lifting up Jesus in the inner city.
Before I got connected with the church and the ministry, I thought that there wasn't a Lord, there wasn't a Jesus, because all these problems I was going through. Once I started coming to the church and they was telling me to pray and trust in the Lord and start reading the Bible and studying and coming to Bible and coming to church and believing in them, things are changing and changing pretty fast. Now I'm taking skills that I've always had, which was helping people and ministering to people, which I never knew I had. And so, what is River City Church? River City Church is captured well by the motto, lifting up Jesus in the inner city. Lifting up is an action. It's doing things. It's dynamic. It's moving. Where are we doing it? We're doing it in the inner city, a place of devastation, a place of brokenness, amongst the culture of generational poverty and dysfunction and hurt. Lifting up. We're lifting Jesus up. We're lifting Jesus up in the hearts and the minds and the lives of people to give them hope, to lift up Jesus in this place of brokenness. Lift up Jesus in the inner city. That's a little snapshot. Oh. There we go. And so I'm not going to list, I'm just going to mention all these right now, but I think you get the idea. We're just a church family, like you're a church family, but we try to be relevant in the environment that we're in, loving and serving and caring for people where they're at and partnering. We have this concept called partnership for progress. We try to partner with people wherever they are on the journey of life and help in this ministry of reconciliation to reconcile them
first back to the Lord, but also back to all of His riches and resources intended for human flourishing in all kinds of different ways. We work a lot with our young people. We have a full-time youth minister, Christina Santiago, and she's a great blessing to our young people. And we just love people where they're at and partner with them, try to be part of God's process of reconciliation and progress, moving them forward through life. Silver City Ministry. A little bit about Silver City Ministry. They are a youth discipleship ministry, and they serve at-risk youth in a youth mentoring program, connecting godly women to young disadvantaged ladies and godly men to young disadvantaged young men, and help them build a relationship. And we're now in a 24-year and counting more like a 26 or 27-year relationship, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a little while ago, where my wife started mentoring a young lady in Silver City's mentoring program. And so Christian camping is another big deal with Silver City Ministry, and we partner with them in those efforts. For like 15, 16 years now, we've partnered together with them to do a week of camp at Camp Caldwell. We're getting prepared for that now. One little highlight, as we've just wrapped up this year's mentoring program, 45 mentor-mentee pairs this year. Phil Davis, I know you've been doing that for a long time. Thank you. That's a great way to invest in a young person's life that is life-transforming. Talk about a ministry of reconciliation. Hand Up Housing is the fourth of our four ministries that I want to tell you about. What do you think it's about? Housing, right? It serves under the umbrella of River City Ministry, transitional, temporary, transformational housing environment, high accountability, Christ-centered, and again, a real close partnership with River City Church. Many of the folks that are in Hand Up Housing either came from River City Church or are now, as a result of them being in Hand Up Housing, are connected with our church family. So, hey, I did pretty good. Now here's the grand finale. I hope you've got a vision for the ministry of reconciliation. I pray that you have a little clearer understanding of what this inner city work is all about in our four entities. Let me weave it into the story of our young lady by the name of Santa Walton. Here she is graduating from high school in her 30s. Tell you a little bit about that. In 1998, while I was on staff here at Chenal Valley, my better half, Laura, started mentoring Santa when she was in Silver City's mentoring program when she was 11. And so here's a picture of her and her family, and that began a lifelong relationship with Santa and her family, which has had lots of stories that I don't have time to tell you today, lots of twists and turns and ups and downs, but I'll give you a little thumbnail sketch today. Through her youth years and her young years, in 2000, when I shifted gears and got into full-time inner city mission work myself, she connected with us at River City Church through her youth years and maintained real close connections. She was with us whenever things were going on. Every time there was a youth activity, every time we went to camp, she loved camp, and she came with us. And there was some very formative years. She was baptized into Christ during those years. And so she was a very active member of our church family. As a young adult, one of the frustrating challenges of the culture of generational poverty, even though she was in this tight relationship with us, she still had all of these connections and all these influences. Mother continuing to battle crack addiction. At one point in the relationship, we had to call DHS because there was toxic stuff going on in the family. For a while, all the kids were taken out of the home. That was very traumatic and difficult. Santa has done tremendously well, but she went through a season of disconnection with us in her young adult years. And every time we reconnected, Santa, please get back connected. Life would be better. Just give the church family a try. So she had a relationship somewhat with the Lord, but it was kind of flimsy. And she was largely disconnected from us. And we'd plead with her, hey, things are going to get better if you just connect. 2018, she hit a low point. Homeless, she and her two kids, Rico and Layla, came and lived with us for a time. And then within a short period of time, we were able to help transition her into hand-up housing, where she and her family, and then as time went on, 3 of her other siblings also came into hand-up housing and got connected some with River City Church. And 2 of Santa and her sister Melissa are still very actively engaged at River City Church, and we still have some connection with the rest of the siblings. So there's Santa and her kiddos on the porch of their home that they lived in for a while. They were with us for about 3 years in hand-up housing. And I'm just going to run through some slides. Here's her working on, she did not get her high school diploma, but here she is in her 30s working on her high school diploma at Goodwill Industries Excel Learning Center. And we've just been doing life with them. There's us on Pinnacle Mountain. Here's her. She had been driving for over a decade at this point, probably close to 15 years. She had been driving, but never had a driver's license. Here she is. We actually helped her get her driver's license so she didn't have to drive so fearful. And just some pictures of us doing life together. Here's her with her graduation high school diploma, and us celebrating her birthday together, and there's her at her graduation, and a little congratulations thing we did, just us doing life together, enjoying them in our home, playing cards. Here's Santa and her sister. So this ministry of reconciliation, we're called to be the beneficiaries of the ministry of reconciliation first, and then we're called into action to be ministers of reconciliation. Here is Santa and her sister participating in the ministry of reconciliation by preparing themselves, cooking and preparing food to bring to families during the holiday. I think it was Christmas when they were preparing that food, the 2 of them themselves, and delivering the food as well, just as a blessing to others. So that's her continuing to grow and develop. And here is us celebrating one of her other sisters, Brittany, who is now in the Navy, celebrating her graduation from high school, actual high school. She didn't. She's 18 at that time, and here's us celebrating that. Here's Santa serving with me. She's in the far left, serving with me and others at the annual Christmas toy store that we do every year. She is a minister of reconciliation as well as the beneficiary through the wonderful help and assistance of River City Ministry. So we've already tied in Silver City Youth Mentoring. You got that? We've tied in Hand-Up Housing. She was in Hand-Up Housing for a few years. We've tied in River City Church, where she's an active member of our church family and part of the ministry of reconciliation. Now we're tying in River City Ministry through the social work resources and networking at River City Ministry. Santa was able to graduate out of Hand-Up Housing and get into her own apartment, and there's her holding the key that one of the social workers handed to her that enabled her through some help get into her own apartment. And so we continue this partnership for progress in this ministry of reconciliation with Santa and her family, helping her. We were donated a car. We put a few $1,000s of work in the vehicle, and she was able. She had a little bit of money actually. We didn't just give her the car. She actually paid, I think, like $2,500 for this vehicle. It was worth a good bit more than $2,500, but she had some skin in the game, and that's part of this partnership for progress. We try not to do for people what they can and should do for themselves, or else we're enabling instead of empowering. And so there's her, thrilled with her new vehicle that she continues. That was several years ago. The car's still kind of limping along. In fact, she's borrowing my car as we speak in order to, while she's waiting on getting her car repaired. She's trying to save up enough money to get her car repaired. This is us. That's my mother-in-law. She's 91, whose back of the head you see there. She lives with us. And this is us just playing cards and having fun with Santa and her family. That's part of the ministry of reconciliation. By the way, the ministry of reconciliation is a whole lot of fun. It's something to be thrilled about, something to enjoy. And we have a saying, we measure progress not in miles per hour, but in inches per year. The devastations and the disconnections that happen in the culture of generational poverty are deep and wide. And we know we're in for a battle, but we're excited about the invitation of Jesus to follow in His footsteps, to partner with people for their progress in this ministry of reconciliation. We know that this work is a generational work. It took generations for these problems to develop with people going back generations in poverty and dysfunction, and it may take generations to fully move people out of it. And so we're in this generational ministry, and we love Santa and her children. And now, where this all started with Santa as 11 years old, back in 1998, my wife mentoring her in Silver City's mentoring program. Now I am mentoring her 15-year-old, I think he's 16 now, 16-year-old son, Rico. This is us at the banquet that Phil was at just recently, where we celebrated the end of this year's mentoring program. And our youth minister, Christina Santiago, is continuing to mentor Santa's daughter, Layla. And so we're now Oma and Opa to Layla and Rico. Oma and Opa is German for grandmother and grandfather, because I come from a German background. I had an Oma and Opa. All my grandkids call me Oma and Opa. So we're Oma and Opa to Rico and to Layla. So this ministry of reconciliation, it's our ministry. We're doing it on our turf. You're doing it on your turf. Let's keep doing it together. Thank you for the ways that you've helped us do it. We face, as I think you've seen today, some special challenges, and we need lots of help, and you all have stepped up and provided help, and I'm thankful for that. Let's keep working together. We'll keep receiving the help that you provide. Could I see a show of hands of anyone that in any way, shape, or form that has any involvement or support for any of the entities we've spoken of here today? Just show of hands. Look around the room. You can see a number of folks here have invested time, energy, and resources. Let's continue to be faithful and be fruitful in this work. These are just some of the ways that people can get involved. Above and beyond all, pray. Please pray for us. Continue to pray. We believe this is God's work, and He's the one that's going to make things happen. So let's continue to pray for Him to keep moving among us, and for the Lord of the harvest to bring forth reapers. We have a monthly report that we do and a weekly bulletin. If you'd like to get any of that stuff, I've got a sign-up sheet in the lobby as well as cards. You can email me or text me. I've got some right up here as well. Share that, and we'll put you on our monthly distribution of emails that we send out. There's lots of different ways that you can connect. If you are a professional and you have a service that you could mentor somebody in, or come do it with us if you're a mental health professional or something like that. We're always looking to network with people. We're for ministries that network with each other, but we have a whole sea of other ministries, agencies, and organizations and people that we network with in this grand ministry of reconciliation. The love language of the hood is food. If you like to prepare food, we will receive it. We eat almost every time we're together. If that's something that you're excited about, talk with us. We'd love for you to help. Another big thing is helping people get into gainful employment. If you are a business person or you own and operate a business, if you could help us help connect people who are maybe at-risk employees, and you will be willing to take a risk and help us hire some folks, we would love to see that. So these are just some of the ways that you can help out in our turf as you're working on your turf. Let us know if you have any questions. Again, call me, text me. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for being partners in this ministry of reconciliation. I think let's all stand and sing.